Part 62. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 611. There is no airtight wall in this world. As the legitimate daughter of the Fang family, her father is the heir to the next head of the family. Her grandfather, the head of the Fang family, also likes her very much. The upbringing of the family must be extraordinary. There will be no shortage of knowledge. Even if she doesn't know it now, sooner or later she will know it. After knowing it, can she still maintain such a pure friendship with Luo? Luo didn't think about how long she would keep it secret. I won't hide my identity as a heavenly master forever. If I can see someone clearly, it's worth it. Even if she is a heavenly master, she cannot control people's thoughts. People's thoughts change at any time. Xuanhuan understood what she meant. Even if Xianxia knew about it and used her, she would not be a fool. It would not be a bad thing to see someone clearly in this way. Xuanhuan was a little helpless, but Luo was right. Sooner or later, her ability would be exposed, as long as she didn't expose it now. By the way, what's up with your powerful golden stick? Luo asked curiously. Xuanhuan smiled, that's my cauldron for refining weapons, which is equivalent to the function of your alchemy furnace. Huh? Luo looked at Xuanhuan in surprise. It's not like she hasn't seen a weapon refiner before, but whose weapon refiner uses a long stick to refine weapons? It's obviously a stick, but it's still called a tripod. Aren't weapon refiners just like alchemists, having a furnace for refining weapons? Don't underestimate it, it is an ancient treasure. Xuanhuan didn't hide it from her either. Ancient treasure, Luo couldn't think of it even after racking her brains. It was that ancient treasure. She had seen the ancient treasure atlas and she had a photographic memory. She couldn't forget it. There was no such treasure in it. Xuanhuan said, it was not recorded in the treasure book. There are still treasures left behind. Luo didn't believe it. As long as it is a treasure, it will be passed down in the world. How could it not be recorded in the treasure book? Yes, there is more than one. Xuanhuan was sure. Have you seen other ancient treasures that were not recorded in the book? Luo was a little unbelievable. Xuanhuan nodded, this stick is actually a cylindrical cauldron. It was the weapon refining cauldron of a powerful weapon refiner in ancient times. However, there were too many treasures in ancient times, and many of them were not recorded. The cylinder, the tripod, is one of them. It was also obtained in the secret realm of Wanghai Forest. Luo had never seen Xuanhuan refining weapons before, and she really didn't know that he used such a strange tripod to make weapons. This weapon refiner's hobby is so special. This is the first time I've seen a tripod made like this. The corner of Luo's mouth twitched. Although it is a tripod for refining, it can also be used as a weapon. Today is the first time I use it as a weapon. I have to use it to fight, so it changes into such a long shape. In fact, it is just a round ridge. Xuanhuan thought, and a golden tripod like a pen holder appeared in his hand, but it had 3 more legs underneath. It doesn't look like a stick anymore, but it looks like a pen holder. Luo looked at it and said. The pen holder jumped immediately. Although Luo couldn't communicate with it, she also knew that it meant dissatisfaction. Is it angry that I said it looks like a pen holder? Luo asked Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan said, funny, it's not angry with you. What it cares about is that so many people call it stick today. It's not as nice as your nickname. At least the pen holder contains a pen, which is a must for literate, I think. Luo is speechless. This pen holder is weird. He actually thinks that it is better to be a pen holder than a stick. I want her to see how majestic it is to be a stick, killing everyone. However, she already knew the idea of the pen holder, and she would not say it to stimulate it. The pen holder jumped out of Xuanhuan's hand and floated in front of Luo. If it had a face, you would find it sizing up Luo. Then he communicated something with Jizhong using his spiritual consciousness. Although Yan Xiangluo couldn't hear it, when she saw Jizhong's darkened face, she immediately smiled. This pen holder is really fun. She didn't know that Bai Tu was praising Jizhong crazily, saying that Yan Xiangluo was beautiful. She was the most beautiful person it had ever seen, and it seemed as if she wanted Yan Xiangluo to hug her. Is it too lonely? Should I ask Xiwo to come out and play with it for a while? Ruan Xiangluo said. She felt that since they were all ancient treasures, they should have something in common and maybe we could talk about them together. Jizhong raised his eyebrows. He had never thought of finding a companion for the pen holder. Although it had spiritual consciousness, it was just an object. Normally he is very quiet, but like today he was as crazy as this. This was the first time he had seen him. Okay, Jizhong did not refuse, because he saw the pen holder paused for a moment, waiting for his decision. Maybe it also wanted to have a companion. Yuan Xiangluo communicated with Xiwo, and Xiwo came out immediately when he heard that there was an ancient tripod. The stone nest as smooth as jasper and Jin Huang's pen holder that looks wealthy at first glance. Just like this, you look at me and I look at you. Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong looked at each other. What does this mean? Before the two of them finished exchanging glances, they saw Xiwo and the pen holder rushing together. The banging sound made both Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong dumbfounded. This is a fight? Why did they start fighting as soon as they met? Jizhong and Yan Xiangluo quickly called back their respective alchemy furnaces and cauldrons. Although they knew that the ancient treasures were not that fragile, they were worried about breaking them. The stone nest was still jumping in the palm of Yan Xiangluo's hand, and the pen holder was not honest in Jizhong's palm, and it was obvious that they were still fighting in the distance. But after separating the two, Yan Xiangluo finally heard what Xiwo said. You liar, you are still alive, why don't you die? Pen holder is not far behind. You are the liar, you have lied to me for tens of millions of years, and you still have the nerve to accuse me. Jizhong heard the words pen holder and looked at each other with Yan Xiangluo. Not only were they both ancient treasures, but they also knew each other. Not only did they know each other, but they also had hatred. What kind of fate was this? Xiwo, don't get excited. You're so angry that you can't do it? Tell me what's going on, Yuan Xiangluo hurriedly comforted Xiwo. It was her alchemy furnace and was usually reluctant to talk. To be so angry today shows that they used to have something festive. Jizhong also reassured the pen holder, why are you so excited? Is there any misunderstanding between you two? The two quarreled again after hearing what Jizhong said. What's the misunderstanding? It lied to me. It's a shame that I trusted it so much. What's the misunderstanding? It lied to me. It's a shame that I trusted it so much. They both shouted in unison, saying exactly the same thing. Jizhong and Yan Xiangluo finally understood. They must have been very good before. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 612. Chapter 612 The Origin of Xiwo. Yan Xiangluo blinked, and she somewhat understood the grudge between the two. The two should have had a good relationship before, but because of one thing, they both felt that the other had lied to them, so they became enemies. Just like people, the closer the relationship is, the more resentful one is when one is betrayed. When this happened, I wanted to find a companion for them, but now I have found an enemy. Jizhong said, it's useless for you to argue. Why don't you talk about it and let us help you analyze who deceived whom? Jizhong felt that the matter still had to be resolved. Although the two of them didn't have to meet each other, he and Luoluo had been together for so long, so they hadn't met either. The existence of the pen holder was only known to Luoluo. It was not that he deliberately concealed it, but that he had never refined a weapon in front of her, so he did not mention the tripod he used to refine it. But now that the two of them know each other's existence, and their spiritual consciousness is very strong, they may not feel comfortable. If they have a chance to meet, they will still fight each other once and for all. He and Luoluo don't have time to break up the fight or start a fight. The best way is to resolve their grievances now. Yan Xianluo also said quickly, "Yes, calm down. You tell us separately, and then the two of us will analyze it for you." Snort. Snort. They snorted again at the same time, such a tacit understanding. This is the first time that Yan Xianluo has seen such a lively Shiwo. In the past, Shiwo was aloof and could not talk respectfully. Now, alas. Yan Xianluo and Ji Zhizhong looked at each other and started chatting about their furnaces and tripods. Yan Xianluo listened to Shiwo's story about tens of millions of years ago, and Ji Zhizhong also listened to the penholder talk about its grievances and anger. "Master, that ungrateful guy and I were made by the same god-level weapon refiner." Yan Xianluo was stunned for a moment. The stone nest and the penholder were made by refining. Oh my god, that weapon refiner is so powerful. How could he refine such a powerful weapon? Shiwo didn't know what his owner was thinking, so he said to himself, but after he refined us, he felt dissatisfied, so he threw us into his dimension. In fact, he didn't know that we were refined by him. The most perfect weapon, because we are just cultivating the spiritual consciousness and letting it grow as quickly as possible, so the weapon does not look so spiritual. However, he thinks that we are defective. The spiritual energy in his space is very rich, and we can better cultivate spiritual consciousness in his space. Yan Xianluo was speechless. This man was already a god-level weapon refiner. Didn't he know what the weapons he made were like? Thinking that the god-level spirit-restoring pill she had refined could serve as a guide for Ji Zhizhong to be promoted ahead of schedule, she didn't know it either, and she immediately understood the god-level weapon refiner who wasted so much. Later, after he fell into nothingness, the space became ownerless, and we didn't know where the space fell. After a long time, someone finally discovered this space. However, for some unknown reason, the space carrier has been integrated into once inside the rocks where it is located. This space becomes a small world. People continue to come in to experience treasure hunting, and the small world becomes more and more rich, like a real world. Although he communicated with his spiritual consciousness, Shiwo's emotions were clearly expressed. Yan Xianluo sensed that Shiwo missed the life there. The two of us made an appointment, and we will never be contracted by anyone. We will work hard to practice, strive to transform into human form, go out to see the outside continent together, and travel together. But, that guy actually lied to me at this point. Shiwo's tone suddenly changed. Get angry. Yan Xianluo knew why they had become enemies. One day it left quietly on its own. At first I thought it had gone out to play, but it didn't come back for a day. The next day I went out to look for it. I searched all over the small world but couldn't find it. I knew it had deserted us. The friendship left the small world. Later, I didn't want to stay there anymore. I always thought of it, feeling sad and sad. After I came out, I traveled all over the mainland and never encountered it. I learned a lot until one day I was discovered by several weapon refiners, who took turns burning me with flames. In the end, I couldn't hold on any longer, so I used all my remaining strength to break through the continent barrier and landed on the lower continent, but I still couldn't. Because my strength was exhausted, I fell into a deep sleep until I met the master. It was the master's breath that woke me up. I liked the master's breath, so I made a contract with the master. This is the first time that Yan Xianluo has heard about the origin of Shiwo. It is not so much the grudge between Shiwo and the penholder, but their origins and experiences. She only knew that the stone nests had an extraordinary origin, but she did not expect that they were actually waste products refined by ancient god-level weapon refiners. Although they were not waste products, they were treated as waste products. Xianxia was sincerely grateful for the god-level weapon refiner's disdain, otherwise she would have had a chance to get a stone nest. It's just that Xiwo said he liked him, so why did he show such a cool attitude towards him in the first place? Am I your first master? Xianxia suddenly asked with her eyes flashing. Xiwo said proudly, of course. Thinking that anyone can be its owner, but not everyone can use its stone nest. Then what are the legends you told on the mainland? Xianxia was very curious about this. There are records of Xiwo on the mainland, and alchemists are all fascinated by it. If you are its first owner, how did its reputation spread? Xiwo said in a low tone, that was spread because I was soft-hearted and helped people. However, without exception, the people I helped turned into greedy people. They boasted about being my master and deceived me. I made a contract with them and they all wanted me as their own. After I saw through them, I stopped helping anyone. It is clear that the fragrance has fallen. No wonder the information about Xiwo stopped abruptly. It no longer helps people, so no one sees it anymore. Ji Kong over there also listened to the penholder tell the story of their experiences. Ji Hong and Xianxia compared each other and found that there was a real misunderstanding between them. At that time, Xiwo thought that the Baitu had secretly left. In fact, Baitu had found a more suitable place for cultivation, so he went to have a look first. If he thought it was suitable, he would tell Xiwo and they would move there together. But when it came back the next day, Xiwo went out to look for it, and happened to be away. It thought Xiwo had gone out to play, so it waited for it. However, Xiwo didn't come back until the evening, and the penholder was also busy looking for Xiwo. Now, the two of them just look for me and I look for you. The result is that they are perfect and miss each other in this small world. In the end, they were all disappointed and thought that the other party had given up their friendship and left. They also left the sad place of the small world one after another. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 613. It was truly a coincidence. Maybe this was their chance. If not, they would still be practicing in the small world and waiting to turn into human form before leaving. She and Xuanhuan would not have encountered them. They went there to find such a handy weapon for refining alchemy and refining weapons. Xianxia and Xuanhuan patiently explained their misunderstanding to them. They were both stunned, and then they rushed together again, and the clanging sound sounded again. Xianxia didn't understand. The misunderstanding was resolved. Why were they still fighting? She wanted to call them back to Xiwo, but Xuanhuan stopped her. They are not fighting. Xianxia heard the words and looked at them. Sure enough, they were different from the previous jingling collisions. There was a real fight before, and the impact was merciless. This time it's not so ruthless. If you listen carefully you can still hear the rhythm. Xianxia was speechless as she looked at the two men performing the jade and gold percussion duet. Is this their way of getting along? Xuanhuan was also helpless. It should be. Well, the way of dealing with ancient treasures should be special. Well, why were people in ancient times so powerful? Is it because the living space at that time had more spiritual energy? Xianxia sighed in confusion. A smile flashed across Xuanhuan's phoenix eyes. At this moment, Luoluo had lost her guard and was very cute. Even if we don't live in the ancient times, we will still be very powerful. And even in the ancient times, not everyone is powerful. Xuanhuan's words were not to comfort Xianxia, but that's what he thought. That's true. Have you noticed that no matter what we learn or practice, We are faster than our peers. Yan Xianglou turned to look at him. Jija Kong's soft eyes fell on her face, and seeing her serious expression, he held her hand, because Luoluo has a heavy burden to carry. The two of them stopped talking and just held hands. Yan Xianglou leaned in Jija Kong's arms and looked at the stone nest and the pen holder quietly. Does the pen holder have a name? Yan Xianglou asked. Yes, it is carved on the outside of the tripod just like the stone nest. Jija Hong pointed to the pen holder and said. Yan Xianglou looked carefully and found out that there were two words on the outside of the tripod called pen holder. When she saw the name pen holder, the corner of her mouth twitched. The bucket of gold, oh my god. I thought the name of Shiwo had some special meaning. After reading the name of the pen holder, I was sure that the god-level weapon refiner who made them was a bad name. Jija Hong smiled. I think so too. I didn't feel it before, but now that I know they were made by the same god-level weapon refiner, I feel the same way. The stone nest is made of jade and is refined into the shape of an alchemy furnace, so it is called a stone nest. It is a nest made of stone. The golden bucket is called the golden bucket because the whole body is golden, like a gold bucket. Yan Xianglou finally understood why she was not angry and was very happy when she called her Jintong pen holder. The pen holder looked much more elegant than Jintong. Yan Xianglou looked at the sky outside. It was already very late. Then she looked at the two inseparable people and said to Jija Hong, let them stay outside tonight. You go back and have a good rest. Jija Hong stole the show in this continental competition, especially his gold bucket, which will definitely be coveted by many people. The food at tomorrow's banquet may not be so delicious. This is also the main reason why she wants to leave Yaoguang City as soon as possible. She doesn't want to be a burden to Jija Hong. Without her, Jija Hong will have nothing to be manipulated, and he will not be passive and can do whatever he wants. He hasn't had any rest in the past few days. He is injured and he has been promoted. He should have a good rest tonight. Jija Hong reluctantly let go of her hand. I haven't been refining weapons recently, so I'll put the gold bucket where you are. Yan Xianglou shook her head. No, the golden bucket can still help you at critical moments. No one on the mainland knows about the golden bucket. It's not like Shiwo is an alchemist who knows about it. No one knows if you use it as a weapon. Jija Hong knew that she was worried about him, so he didn't insist anymore. Anyway, when they were together in the future, Jintong could stay with Shiwo. After sending Jija Hong away, Yan Xianglou ignored the stone nest and the golden bucket and went back to sleep. She didn't want to practice or study the power of soul control tonight, so she just had a good rest. She still had things to do tomorrow. Early the next morning, when the fragrance fell, she felt a chill on her face. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the stone nest and the gold bucket were nestled beside her pillow, next to her face. It was not chilly. Yan Xianglou moved the two inside, then got up and went out to make breakfast. The banquet at the city lord's mansion was to be held at noon, so there was no need to go too early. Xian already knew that Jija Hong asked him to accompany Yan Xianglou and Chi Hao, so he went to finish the check-out of the house. Jin Yutang took the others and left first. Jija Hong looked much better today than yesterday after a night's rest, and Yan Xianglou looked more relieved. Chi Hao's admiring eyes kept darting back and forth on Jija Hong. Jija Hong left for the city lord's mansion first. Less than a quarter of an hour after he left, Xian came back. Yu Xianglou took Chi Hao and Xian and left the mansion. There was no one of them in the mansion behind them. After Xian handed the key back to the people in Yaxing, he left Yaoguang City with Yan Xianglou and Chi Hao. When Chi Hao arrived at Qilapo, he didn't forget to take a closer look. This was the place where the woman named Xianxia wanted to plot against his master. Yan Xianglou said to Xian, take Xiao Hao to the Divine Doctor Mountain and wait for me. I will go to do something first, and then go to the Divine Doctor Mountain. Ji Kong told Xian that he could just listen to Yan Xiangluo's arrangements. Therefore, Xian only said, "Miss Yu, be careful." Then he took out a teleportation symbol and left with Chi Hao. Before Chi Hao could ask his master where he was going and why he wasn't taking him with him, he was taken away by Xian. Immediately, Yan Xiangluo also took out a teleportation mysterious pattern and disappeared. Those who followed them quickly came over to investigate. People with high strength can know the approximate direction and location through the Xuanhuan aura. 2 directions, which one did the fragrance fall to? In the end, those who wanted to follow Yan Xiangluo all chose the direction of Shanai Mountain. Although they did not make the right choice, since Yan Xiangluo would also go to Shanai Mountain after that, they did not make a wrong choice. Yu Xiangluo came to Chunhui City, which is adjacent to Yaoguang City. She found a remote place outside the city, went into the space, changed into a man's clothes, took a beauty-changing pill, and came out as a handsome young man. She was taking a god-level face-changing pill, and even with her demigod cultivation, she couldn't tell that her face was not her original one. He used another invisibility pattern on himself, and then went into the city. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 614. Perhaps there are not many people coming and going in Chunhui City, and the city gate inspection is not that strict. There is no Xianjing used to check whether anyone uses the invisibility Xuanhuan to enter or exit, so Yuan Xiangluo sneaked in easily. After entering the city, after she unlocked the invisibility pattern, she went directly to the largest tea house in Chunhui City. The main purpose was to find out the information about the family, and then decide what method to use to get the person's son out and fulfill the promise. She didn't want to waste time. In fact, it was the fastest way to buy information from Ishizaki. However, you had to see your ID tag to buy information, otherwise it wouldn't be sold. She didn't want to expose her whereabouts, so she had no choice but to check it out in person. The man said that their family name was Wang, and they were not a big family anyway. Judging from the yard they rented, they probably couldn't even be called a middle-class family in Yaoguang City. He didn't know if they were well known in Chunhui City or if they could find out the news. She knew nothing except that the family had moved to Chunhui City. Yan Xiangluo was sitting in the lobby downstairs, drinking tea and eating snacks, listening to the people in the lobby talking about everything. After a moment, she waved to the waiter, and the waiter came over immediately. At this time, the guests who greeted the waiter had something to do, and they would receive rewards for completing the tasks. Yan Xiangluo first threw a red crystal coin into his arms. The clerk caught the coin deftly and his eyes suddenly lit up. Before he even said what to do, he rewarded him with a red crystal coin. This young man is a generous man. Ah! Suddenly his heart was filled with joy, and his attitude was respectful and flattering. "Young master, what do you want me to do?" Since a person is generous, he should naturally be more proactive. "I have a friend I've made since we last year. The family moved here a few years ago. I don't know why we lost contact. I want to ask his son why. Can you help me find out where this family lives?" Ruan Xiangluo looked at the guy and said. The boy patted his chest and said, "Sir, Chunhui City is not big or small. If it were anything else, I might not be able to handle it. I will definitely be able to handle this matter beautifully for you, as long as their family really came here." Yan Xiangluo raised her eyebrows and looked at him, obviously doubting whether you were talking big or whether you were really capable. The guy lowered his voice and said, "My first cousin is in charge of household registration in the city lord's mansion." Yu Xiangluo understood. No wonder he was so confident, he really had someone in the yamen who could do things easily. She took out a bag of red crystal stones and threw it to him. "His surname is Wang. He moved from Yaoguang City a few years ago. My friend's son is named Wang Haifei. I don't know if something happened to their family. If you find out, Send a message quietly to Wang's Haifei, saying that I am his father's friend. His father asked me to come to see him, and I will wait for him here. When the waiter heard the name, he slapped his thigh and said, "There's no need to look for my brother. I know the prince you mentioned. He often comes to our tea house for tea. He moved from Yaoguang City a few years ago. However, I heard that something happened to his father. I know where the palace is and I will find someone for the young master right away." Yan Xiangluo didn't expect such a coincidence. The person she was looking for actually knew Wang's Haifei, the son of the head of the Wang family who was killed by his own brother. The most important thing was that he was still alive, and he seemed to be a smart and tolerant person. "Don't disturb the rest of his family," Yan Xiangluo reminded. The clerk understood that there might be something dirty in this family. He had heard that the prince's father was originally the head of the Wang family. After the accident, he was supposed to inherit the position of head of the family. However, his second uncle usurped the position of head of the family. He didn't believe it if his father's accident had nothing to do with his second uncle. Although the Wang family is not a famous family, and its strength is not that strong, so they were ostracized when they moved here, but at least they survived. The prince often comes here to drink tea, and he feels gloomy every time. He also often goes out, claiming to be looking for his father, but there has been no news for these years. But he will not talk too much to the young master in front of him. He knows very well that talking too much will lead to mistakes. He knows what should and should not be said. The young master just asks him to find someone, and he will use the money to get things done, and don't worry about anything else. "Don't worry, sir, I'll handle things safely." After saying that, the boy put away the spar bag, took out a red spar and gave it to another boy, asking him to take care of his guest, and then left. Evidently they looked after each other in this way. Yan Xiangluo secretly admired that this guy is indeed a smart person. She also knows that on this continent, it is very difficult for ordinary people who have not awakened their spiritual roots to live a life, but people with brains can always live a better life. She didn't wait long before the clerk came back and whispered to Yan Xiangluo, "Sir, it's done. Mr. Wang will be here later." Yan Xiangluo understood that Wang's Haifei was obviously guarding against someone, and she immediately asked, "Is there still a private room?" The waiter said, "There are some, but there are no low-priced ones. There are only luxury rooms on the third floor. This time is exactly the time for tea, so there are many guests, and the cheap private rooms are all occupied. It's okay, give me a private room, preferably one by the window. I want to see the street view." Yan Xiangluo's voice was louder, so that people nearby could hear it. The man immediately understood what she meant and said immediately, "Master, follow me." Yan Xiangluo followed the waiter upstairs to the third floor. The waiter led her to a private room at the end. The waiter opened the door and said, "Sir, this is the best private room in our tea house. It is blessed by a magic formation and the room is very quiet. You don't have to worry about any noise disturbing you." The words were very cryptic. They were telling Yan Xiangluo that you can talk here without worry. There is an isolation formation here, which is arranged for people who have something to talk about but don't want others to know. Yan Xiangluo admired this guy's ability in doing things and nodded, "Here's another pot of your best spiritual tea, and 2 of your signature snacks." After finishing speaking, he lowered his voice and said, "When people come, bring them to me." The man nodded knowingly to reassure her, but said, "Don't worry, sir, I'll prepare it for you right now." Yan Xiangluo walked into the private room, closed the door, stood at the window and looked down. This private room is the best room in the tea house. It is not only quiet, but also can see the entire street view. Looking down, you can also see the tea house door. After a while, a man in a brown robe walked slowly over, looking in the direction of the tea house where she was. His steps were unhurried, no different from ordinary people who came to drink tea. However, Seeing his appearance, Yanxiangluo knew that he was the son of the deceased Wang family master, because he looked so similar. If she had not known that the Wang family master had been sent away by her, she would have suspected that the Wang family master had been resurrected. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 615. Chapter 615, Fulfilling Promises, 2. Yanxiangluo watched him walk into the tea house, sat down at the table, poured a cup of tea, drank it, and ate a snack. Soon there was a knock on the door, and Yanxiangluo said, "Please come in." The clerk opened the door and made a gesture of invitation. Wang's Haifei saw a young and handsome young man in the private room, and his brows furrowed invisibly. Then he walked in. The guy had the foresight to close the door. "Master Wang, please sit down." Yanxiangluo made a gesture of invitation, and then poured him tea. Wang's Haifei sat down opposite Yanxiangluo. "Sir, have you seen my father?" Yanxiangluo put the teacup in front of him and said, "I've seen it before." "When?" Wang's Haifei asked eagerly upon hearing the words. 9 days ago, Yanxiangluo said truthfully. She was indeed Wang's Haifei's father, whom she met 9 days ago, but he was not a living person. "Where did you see my father? Is he okay?" Wang's Haifei asked in surprise. Yanxiangluo shook his head. "What I saw was his soul body." The surprise on Wang's Haifei's face suddenly froze. He then regained his composure and asked, "Are you a heavenly master?" "Only a celestial master can see the soul body, but the young master in front of me is only a teenager." "Even if he is a celestial master, is his achievement that high?" "You must know that a heavenly master must reach a certain height before he can open his heavenly eyes. Only those who have opened their heavenly eyes can see the soul body." Yanxiangluo nodded. "I went to Yaoguang City to watch the continental competition. 9 nights ago, I passed by a courtyard and met your father's soul body. His soul body was trapped in that courtyard. To help him get rid of it, he asked me to tell his son a few words, and let you decide what to do, and he will not blame you." Wang's Haifei's mind was buzzing. His father was really dead and his soul was in Yaoguang City. He was the one who was killed in Yaoguang City. His guess was right. But he would not believe the words of the young master in front of him so easily. The world is dangerous. Who knows if he is the person who was arranged by his second uncle to plot against him? "Why should I trust you?" Wang's Haifei asked. "Whether you believe it or not is none of my business, I just need to bring you the message." Yanxiangluo shrugged indifferently. Wang's Haifei was stunned. He didn't expect her to say that. He frowned and said, "If you are really the person my father entrusts, he must know me and ask you to bring a token to see me." Yanxiangluo raised the corners of her lips. "Of course I have the token, but how can I believe that you are Wang's Haifei? You doubted me, and I doubted you once. This is only fair." Wang's Haifei secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He believed in Yanxiangluo when she acted like this. He took out his identity card and input his spiritual power, and the information on the identity card appeared. It is indeed Wang's Haifei himself. In fact, Yanxiangluo can be sure from his appearance. Just now she used the power of soul control to see Wang's Haifei's destiny. Naturally, she knows who his parents and relatives are. The reason why he is asked to prove his identity is Chun. Revenge for not trusting her. After confirming her identity, Yanxiangluo took out the sapphire finger ring given to her by the head of the family, put it on the table, and pushed it over. Wang's Haifei's eyes heated up when he saw the finger pull. He knew that what the young master in front of him was telling the truth. His father was really dead. This sapphire ring is a token of the head of the Wang family. If his father had not died, he would not have given such an important thing to others. He picked up the sapphire wrench with trembling hands and held it in his palm. He buried his whole face in his palm and pressed it against the wrench, crying silently. You can imagine how sad he was now. Yan Xiongluo didn't disturb him and waited quietly for him to calm down. After a while, Wang's Haifei put away his finger, his eyes were red, he stood up and gave a big gift to Yan Xiongluo, which was the etiquette of apology. I was rude just now. Yan Xiongluo looked at Wang's Haifei more favorably this time, waved her hands and said, "It's normal." After Wang's Haifei sat down again, his tone was much more respectful. Not to mention that the young master had brought news about his father, even his status as a heavenly master was worthy of respect. "What were my father's last words? Did he say who killed him?" Wang's Haifei asked. Yan Xiongluo glanced at him and conveyed to him the words of the head of the Wang family verbatim, including who killed his father, who had suppressed his soul and body, and what his father said he had detained him before. "You can live according to your own wishes. If his second uncle is a good head of the family, there will be no need to avenge him," and so on. After hearing this, Wang's Haifei covered his face and cried, sobbing uncontrollably. A grown man could not control his emotions in front of outsiders, which shows how sad he was at this time. "Father, you are so kind-hearted, you regard him as a relative, but he treats you as a stumbling block. Do you know that after your death, your second uncle forced your grandmother to death and your mother to death?" Yan Xiongluo's heart sank when she heard this. It seemed that the current head of the Fang family was so ruthless that he could drive his own mother to death. He was simply a scumbag. In fact, she could tell from the way he suppressed the soul of the former head of the Wang family. However, she will not interfere with their Wang family's affairs, as long as the original Wang family head's deal with her is completed. "Your father's body is in the well in the small yard behind your ancestral home in Yaoguang City. Your father has treasures that can keep the body fresh. I have fulfilled my promise to your father. I'm leaving." Yan Xiongluo didn't want to stay any longer. She knew without even thinking that there would be a storm in the Wang family. Such things are probably happening in every corner of the mainland, definitely not just this one, and she can't control it. Wang's Haifei immediately controlled his emotions and stood up. "I still don't know your surname, how can I repay your kindness in the future?" Yu Xiongluo said, "You don't have to owe me anything. This is between me and your father. Neither of us owes anything to the other." This statement made it clear that she also didn't want to have anything to do with Wang's Haifei anymore, otherwise she would not come without her true appearance. She is in trouble herself, but she is not in the mood to care about other people's troubles, nor does she have the strength. As soon as she finished speaking, Yan Xiongluo opened the door and went out. Wang's Haifei was stunned. He didn't expect that Yan Xiongluo would say this. Is it possible that the Heavenly Master is so special in everything he does? He didn't chase him out. The young master obviously didn't want to have anything to do with him, so he didn't want to retaliate for kindness. He was silent for a moment, and then sat for a while. It was about the same time as when he usually came to drink tea, and then he got up and left. When he went down to settle the accounts, he realized that Yan Xiongluo had settled the accounts. Wang's Haifei was stunned. Someone came to deliver a letter and asked them to spend money to treat him to tea and snacks. This was really unethical. But there is no other way. People don't tell me their names, and I don't know where to look for them. I can only do this. If I have a chance to meet again in the future, I can repay this kindness. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 616. Now Wang's Haifei wants to think about how to avenge his father. After rectifying the Wang family, he can live the life he wants without being constrained by the Wang family. Yu Xiongluo left the tea house and did not stop in Xuanhuan City. She went directly out of the city and went to the Divine Doctor Mountain. There was only an hour and a half difference between Xianxia and the others, and because she was dressed as a teenager, the people who were following her didn't even notice that she had arrived at the Divine Doctor Mountain. Yan Xianglou contacted Xian and asked him to take Chihao to wait for her at the Divine Doctor Town, not far from the Divine Doctor Mountain, while she went up the mountain alone. Xian thought that the two of them waiting in the Divine Doctor Town could confuse the people who followed them secretly, so she agreed, but arranged for hidden guards to protect her secretly. Chihao was a little regretful. He also wanted to pay homage to Master Shi. He had known about Master Shi since he wanted to be an alchemist. Now he knew that the master's medical skills were learned from Master Shi. He was very excited. In this way, what he learned was actually Shi, the inheritance of medical skills from Master Yi. However, since the master does not take him there must be her reasons, and he must be obedient. At this time, he still didn't know that Yan Xiangluo's medical skills came not only from Master Shi, but also from her medical skills when she lived in another world. Yan Xiangluo finally arrived at the foot of Shanai Mountain. Seeing that there was no weed on the spacious steps, Yan Xiangluo was a little confused. Could it be that there are still people living in Shanai Mountain, and it is actually so clean? At this moment, a young man came over. He was obviously going to the Divine Doctor Mountain. When he saw him, he asked, "Young master, are you here to pay homage to Master Shi too?" Yan Xiangluo glanced at him and replied, "Yes, young master too." The young man smiled, rubbed his head and said, "I am an alchemist, but my talent is not very good. My father asked me to come and pay homage to Master Shi. If I have a chance and get enlightenment from Master Shi, maybe I can achieve some success, otherwise I won't be able to achieve anything, that's all." Yan Xiangluo raised her eyebrows. Master Shi has been in nothingness for so long, can he really enlighten others? Has anyone received enlightenment from Master Shi? Yan Xiangluo asked. The young man looked at her with eyes that you didn't even know existed. Of course, there are many people with poor talents who meditated under Master Shi's statue and received enlightenment. After finishing speaking, he asked again, "Isn't this the purpose of your coming?" Yan Xiangluo smiled, "I'm just here to pay my respects to Master Shi." She didn't say that the inheritance of Master Shi's medical skills was with her. What else did she need to enlighten her? She really just came to pay homage to the master she had never met. The two of them talked and climbed up the mountain together. The young man looked at the endless steps and sighed, "I don't know if I can climb up." Yan Xiangluo looked at the young man doubtfully, "Is it difficult to climb these steps?" The young man looked at her, "Is it so difficult that you didn't feel the resistance?" Yan Xiangluo shook his head, and the young man said with an envious look, "That means your talent for alchemy is very good. It seems that this is your first time here and you don't know much about Divine Doctor Mountain. Let me tell you, it's my first time to come, but before I came, my father told me about the Divine Doctor Mountain. The steps of the Divine Doctor Mountain were built by Master Shi himself. Not everyone can climb to the top of the Divine Doctor Mountain. There are restrictions. It depends on you. If you can't reach the top this time, you can try again next time. It will be improved every time, but you can only try it 10 times at most. If you can't reach the top again after 10 times, you don't need to use it anymore. It means your talent book is better. Master Yi can't help you either." As Yan Xiangluo listened to the young man's talk, she became even more curious about Master Shi. What kind of person was he? Here, Yan Xiangluo leisurely accompanied the young man who was climbing up the mountain. Ji Zhozhong was invited to the study by Bai Wuqian. On the way, Ji Zhozhong gave Bai Wuqian the medicine prepared by Yan Xiangluo for Bai Jiaojiao and told him how to use it. Bai Wuqian was embarrassed to speak, so Ji Zhozhong took the initiative to give him the medicine. He had a deep understanding of the personalities of Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhozhong. Although these two people were young, they were very committed. As long as they agreed yes, it will definitely be done. He reminded in a low voice, Changhong demigod is waiting for Mr. Ji in the study. Your long stick is very eye-catching. Ji Zhong said softly, thank you. He knew it would not be so easy today, but he had been drinking tea for a while, and the people who came to chat with him all wanted to buy the Xianxia secret realm token in his hand. He is not short of money, so naturally he will not sell it and leave it to his own people. However, he will not say that. He will only tell the people who come to buy that the token was sold last night. Those people were puzzled that there were still people who sold it so quickly and actually bought it last night. Knowing that he sold the token, no one would bother him again. Just when he was bored, BeautifulFemaleLead came to invite him. He knew that it must be the demigod Changhong. When BeautifulFemaleLead came to the study room, he took Ji Zhong in and left automatically. What he said next was not what he could hear. Changhong demigod glanced at him and said, sit down. Ji Zhong sat down on his left side without any courtesy. Where is his cultivation and status? Now he is not as good as others in terms of cultivation and status. It doesn't matter if he sits below others. He can bend and stretch. Seeing that he was really calm and not pretending, Changhong raised his eyebrows. It had been a long time since such a junior had been so comfortable in front of him. Ji Zhong didn't say anything after he sat down. You invited me here. If you have anything to say, just say it. If you don't say it, do you still expect me to take the initiative to show you favors? It's okay to respect the strong, but it's not necessary to please. Seeing that he didn't speak, Changhong demigod pursed his lower lip and said, I called you here because I want to ask you two things. Ji Zhong then asked, those two things. Look at the way people ask you to come instead of inviting you to come. This is a big difference. Since you don't take me seriously, I don't need to respect you much. You don't need to invite me, and neither do I. Changhong's demigod looked a little displeased, but thinking of his own purpose, he kept his tone as calm as possible. First thing, do you intend to go to Xuanhuan Palace? Ji Zhong shook his head without hesitation, no intention. Such a straightforward answer made Changhong demigod stunned for a moment. Ji Zhong actually didn't want to go to Xuanhuan Palace. Are there any monks on this continent who don't want to go to Xuanhuan Palace? If it was before, he would have answered no without hesitation, but now there is one in front of him. This is the first time he has seen someone who doesn't want to go to Xuanhuan Palace. Are you sure you don't want to go? Changhong asked uncertainly. Ji Zhong nodded happily, okay. Changhong demigod choked, and then said, don't you know what Xuanhuan Palace is like on the mainland? I know. Ji Zhong's words simply made Changhong want to slap him. Then why don't you want to go? Changhong demigod was extremely confused. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 617. Does he think that with high talent, he can practice on his own and break through to the level? Just then I thought of taking a look at Ji Zhong's cultivation level. This time I found that he had been promoted and was now at the 9th level of the holy level intermediate level. He was promoted after going back last night? There is really no one with this talent. At that time, Ji Zhong suppressed his cultivation and he felt pity for Ji Zhong. He also came from the saint level and knew how difficult it is to advance to the saint level. If you miss it once, you don't know when the next one will be. But he actually had another opportunity to advance last night, and he actually succeeded in advancing. No wonder he is so arrogant, even Xuanhuan Palace looks down upon him. You have to know that if you miss this opportunity, you may never have the chance to go to Xuanhuan Palace again, Changhong demigod reminded him. His status made it impossible for him to ask Ji Zhong to go to Xuanhuan Palace, but the palace owner spoke again, asking him to take Ji Zhong back to Xuanhuan Palace. Originally, he thought this would be an easy thing, but now it seems that Xuanhuan Palace has not caught anyone's attention at all. Xuanhuan raised his eyes and glanced at demigod Xianxia. Thanks to demigod Xianxia for reminding me, but I don't like restraint by nature. Xuanhuan Palace must be a place with strict rules and is not suitable for me. Xianxia demigod thought of many reasons for Xuanhuan's refusal to go to Xuanhuan Palace, but he never expected it to be this reason. Don't want to be bound? Is this a reason? Is there anyone in this world who is willing to be bound? Instead of bowing to fate and surrendering to reality, he actually refused to go to the most suitable place for cultivation in the mainland because he was unwilling to be bound. Doesn't he know what he is rejecting? Did you know that almost all the powerful people in the mainland come from Xuanhuan Palace? Xianxia demigod continued after a while. Xuanhuan did not answer his question, but asked him, are there no strong people outside Xuanhuan Palace? Xianxia's demigod stared at him for a moment and did not answer him. There are naturally strong people outside Xuanhuan Palace, not just one or two, but there are definitely not as many as Xuanhuan Palace. Xuanhuan did not expect him to answer, and continued to ask, is the strongest person in the mainland in Xuanhuan Palace? Xianxia demigod couldn't answer this. Although the palace master is indeed the strongest person in the mainland, he is not the only one with the same cultivation level as the palace master on the mainland, and there are not two powerful people in the hidden world. Individual. Xuanhuan raised the corner of his lips and continued to ask, does the Xianxia demigod know why they can become powerful people on the mainland without going to Xuanhuan Palace? 3 questions were asked in a row, and each question made Xianxia demigod unable to answer. After a while, Xianxia demigod finally said, do you know the reason? Xuanhuan said, I also guess that it is because the body and mind are free, and the talent is not restricted. Xianxia was stunned for a moment. He looked at Xuanhuan seriously. Only then did he realize that Xuanhuan's achievements at such a young age were definitely not just because of his high talent, but also because of his intelligent mind. He didn't know whether the reason Xuanhuan said was true, but it was true that Xuanhuan didn't like Xuanhuan Palace. I'll tell you the truth. The palace master gave me an order to take you back to Xuanhuan Palace. As long as you go to Xuanhuan Palace, your status will be high, and you will have the most and best cultivation resources. You will inherit it in the future. The position of the palace master is possible, please think about it again. Demigod Xianxia knew that he might not be able to complete the task assigned to him by the palace master today. There is no other way but to tell the truth, hoping that the temptation of benefits will make Xuanhuan relent. Xuanhuan smiled after hearing the words of the demigod Xianxia. His already handsome face made the smile even more unparalleled. Xianxia demigod was also very emotional. Xuanhuan's appearance was indeed too outstanding. What is the second thing? Xuanhuan smiled and did not answer Xianxia's question, but asked what the second thing was. Xianxia demigod knew that Xuanhuan refused without hesitation and was not tempted at all by the temptation he mentioned. He has already lowered his profile enough. If he continues, he will be groveling. Xuanhuan Palace is not his, so there is no need to grovel. But if the first thing is not done, the second thing may not go well either. But I still have to say it. The palace master is very interested in the weapon you used yesterday. Can you part with it? You can set the price as you like. Xianxia demigod originally thought that as long as the first thing was accomplished, Xuanhuan would volunteer to go to Xuanhuan Palace as soon as he proposed it. Now he doesn't dare to have this idea. If Xuanhuan is willing to sell, it will be a good result. Xuanhuan knew that the second thing was coming for his gold bucket, otherwise Baiwukan wouldn't have reminded himself that his weapon was too eye-catching. But the golden bucket is not something that anyone can have if they want it. The golden bucket is an ancient treasure and has a strong spiritual sense. Unless it is willing, no one can forcefully recognize its owner. If you are in a hurry, I will die with you. I'm used to it, so I won't sell it, Xuanhuan said. As expected, Xianxia demigod sighed, you will get used to changing weapons after a period of time. You have to consider that you have not yet established your footing. Being surrounded by dangers is not a pleasant thing. These words of persuasion contained a reminder, and the reminder contained a threat. He did not want to anger Zhizhong, so the demigod Changhong put a lot of thought into it. He can't use his demigod cultivation to rob. If you can't afford to lose that person, even if you want to rob him, you have to do it in private. And it's not what he wants, so he can't offend anyone. Zhizhong's expression turned cold. The thing I'm not afraid of the most is crisis. The reason why I have achieved what I have now is because I have survived one crisis after another. This statement is so clear, what else can the demigod Changhong say? If he continues, there is really only one way left to fight. Changhong demigod sighed, since you have made a decision, so be it, the banquet is about to begin. Zhizhong knew it was time to see off guests, so he stood up and saluted, goodbye. These two simple words do not mean any compliment or flattery at all because Changhong's demigod cultivation level is so much higher than his. It is like a natural farewell after meeting a guest. After watching Zhizhong's figure disappear, demigod Wei Lan walked out and sat down on the other side of demigod Changhong. If you don't let me participate, you will not have achieved your goal. Changhong demigod glanced at him and said without any mercy, if I let you participate, I'm afraid it won't be as simple as not achieving the goal. Demigod Wei Lan was not annoyed at all after hearing demigod Changhong's words. Instead, he agreed, that's right. If I were to join in, I could at least have a year-end friendship with Zhizhong. Changhong demigod twitched his lips, do you really dare to think that you don't want to go back to Yunzhang Palace? Wei Lan demigod said in a leisurely tone, I don't want to go back, the palace master will also send someone to invite me to go back. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 618. Demigod Wei Yan's intention was very clear to demigod Changhong. With demigod Wei Yan's medical skills and alchemy skills, even if he did something that the palace master didn't like, he wouldn't do anything to him. Who would let no one replace him? Humph, there is someone with better medical skills than you now. The palace master asked me to recruit her into Yunzhang Palace, and your status will be at stake, Changhong demigod said in a mocking tone. Given the choice between Yan Xianglou and Wei Lan, everyone knows who to choose. Wei Lan half-heartedly smiled, everyone has already left Yaoguang City, don't you know? What, Yuan Xianglou left Yaoguang City? Changhong was stunned. He really didn't expect that Yuan Xianglou would leave Yaoguang City so early. After all, Zhizhong is still here. Aren't they an unmarried couple? Why are you leaving separately? Wei Lan, the demigod, said nothing more, stood up and walked out. Isn't it true that even if you don't enter the house, you won't even take a fancy to our Yunzhang Palace? He has already asked. Although Yan Xianglou did not refuse directly, she did not want to enter Yunzhang Palace at all. Now that he knew that Zhizhong didn't want to enter, what else did he not understand? The two of them were unwilling to be bound by Yunzhang Palace. As for Yunzhang Palace's most attractive and rich aura, they didn't seem to care. He was also curious, how did they advance to their current level of cultivation in a few months? Even the talented children from the big families in the high-end mainland have not been promoted so quickly. When he reached the door, he stopped and turned to Changhong, the demigod, and said, the banquet is about to begin, won't you go? Changhong demigod was extremely irritable and couldn't accomplish either of the two things. After returning, he didn't know how to explain to the palace lord, so how could he be in the mood to go to the banquet? But it's not okay not to go. Now he represents Yunzhang Palace. Any decision he makes at this time represents Yunzhang Palace's decision. No matter how he is not in the mood, he must go. Get up and follow demigod Wei Lan out. Zhizhong arrived at the courtyard where the banquet was being held first. The banquet was placed in the front yard, with 100 people and 10 tables, plus the continental masters from each continent and the 2 demigods and Yaoguang from Yun's Hang Palace. The lord of the city, Bai Wuqian, has a total of 13 tables. The 2 demigods were seated at this table by Bai Wuqian and the lord of the northern continent. The banquet was first opened by Bai Wuqian, then the demigod Changhong said some words of encouragement, and finally the lord of the northern continent came to the bottom and announced the banquet had begun. It can be said that this is the first time Zhizhong has participated in such a banquet in his life. In the past in Tianqian continent, he was first the prince and then the regent. Naturally, his status at the palace banquet was different. They were all sitting on it. Now that he is sitting down, he is also talking to with so many people sitting at the same table, he actually had no appetite at all. Even though the banquet was prepared with spiritual ingredients that monks could eat, and the chefs with the best cooking skills in the North Continent were invited, there were no Luoluo chefs. Compared with art, he has no appetite. Zhizhong watched as everyone else began to eat. He only took a few sips of wine. This wine was also brewed with spiritual energy ingredients, and it was more flavorful than the food. At the end of the banquet, the 2 demigods left, and the lords of the continent also withdrew. The atmosphere of the banquet suddenly became more comfortable, and those who wanted to make friends switched to each other's dining table and started chatting. Zhizhong stood up and left after demigod Wulan and demigod Changhong left. After Bai Wuqian and the lord of the northern continent saw off the 2 demigods and left, they saw Zhizhong walking out of the mansion. The lord of the northern continent frowned when he saw him. All the lords of the continent were very disappointed with the result of this continental competition. The last time someone from the lower continent won the first place, although it was very embarrassing, it was still barely done. Yes, the gap is not big. This time, he got it by crushing. This happened in the continental competition held in his northern continent. They would be surprised to see Zhizhong. Hence, the lord of the northern continent didn't even pay attention to Zhizhong. Just as the lords of the continent came out immediately behind Zhizhong, he passed directly over Zhizhong and faced them. Zhizhong didn't feel any embarrassment at all, and walked past him calmly. He also saluted Bai Wuqian and said goodbye, City Lord Bai, farewell. Bai Wuqian was helpless, but he was not rude. Even if the lord of the northern continent was unhappy, he politely sent Zhizhong out of the gate before turning back and following the lord of the northern continent as he sent the other continent lords away. Zhizhong doesn't care about their attitude. His purpose of participating in the continental competition has been achieved. Other people and things don't matter. Mr. G, please stay. Just when Zhizhong walked out of the city lord's mansion, he heard someone calling him from behind. Zhizhong turned around and saw a man chasing him. It was the man who lost the battle with him and became the 4th place, Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan is the Chu family, the #1 spiritual plant planting family in the mainland. It is said that there is no spiritual plant that the Chu family cannot grow. Therefore, most people in the Chu family have awakened wood spiritual roots and water spiritual roots. But Xuanhuan has metal spiritual roots and is extremely powerful in combat. He does not have the wood or water spiritual roots inherited from the bloodline that the Chu family will surely awaken. However, don't think that if the Chu family has either awakened the wood element or the water element spiritual roots, their combat power will not be strong enough. The Chu family almost all have dual element spiritual roots. The previous heads of the Chu family all had wood and metal spiritual roots. Xuanhuan is the youngest son of the current head of the Chu family. Although he has not awakened the wood and water spiritual roots, the single spiritual root allows him to practice more easily, and his cultivation level is higher than that of his brothers and sisters. He does not have wood or water spiritual roots, so he does not need to worry about planting spiritual plants. No matter how strong he is, he cannot become the head of the Chu family. Moreover, he has several outstanding brothers above him, and it is not his turn to be the head of the family. Therefore, the elders in the family do not restrict him. Junya's life is the most comfortable in the family, and his temper is more cheerful. Junya ran up to Hong and said with a smile, "I'm not joking, I'm serious. I really want to be friends with you. I wonder if Mr. G is willing to make friends with me as a brother." Junya is also a young genius and is very famous on the mainland, but he acts unruly and is not a rule-abiding person. Therefore, he has many friends and is a person who loves to make friends. Hong checked their information when he participated in the continental competition. His impression of Junya was not bad, but he was not good enough to become friends. It is not easy to become his friend. His life path is destined to be uneven. People who cannot share life and death with each other cannot be his friends at all. Junya has the Chu family, a powerful family, behind him, and no one dares to try against him. Therefore, there are no ups and downs in his life. Once such a person encounters a fate-determining choice, he may not be able to make a decision. What a strong endurance! You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 619. Chapter 619, FemaleLead. But Hong also admitted that Junya was very open about fame and fortune. After losing the competition with him, he was not discouraged or resentful. Instead, he wanted to make friends with him. This showed that he had merits in his character. But these cannot be the reasons why Hong wants to be friends with him. Young Master Chu has many friends, and I am not the least of them. Hong declined politely. Junya was stunned for a moment, then said, "Does Mr. G dislike me?" Seeing that he was so persistent, Hong could only speak clearly, "No, the environment in which we live makes it difficult for us to be friends. If we become friends, your smooth life will be disrupted, and you will probably face things you don't want choice, therefore, it's better for us to just pass each other by." Junya didn't expect that Hong had so seriously considered the possibility of them becoming friends, and even told him the reasons. At least it shows that Hong respects him. Just like during the competition, he will leave him leeway, which also shows that he recognizes himself as a person. However, Junya really only relied on his eyes and mood to make friends, otherwise he wouldn't have so many friends. Only then did he realize that making friends doesn't just rely on looking comfortable and having similar temperaments. He understood what Hong meant. The kind of friends Hong wanted were friends who could live and die together without betraying each other. Such friends had to make vows, but his own friends didn't really do that. Are the friends he made real friends? What do they do when they encounter difficulties? Who can do it even if they live or die? Hong didn't wait for Junya to say anything, turned around and left. After Junya came to his senses, Hong's figure was about to disappear at the intersection. He shouted loudly, "Hong, I will come to you again, and we will definitely become friends by then." Hong didn't look back, but raised his hand and waved. If that day comes, he wouldn't mind making Junya a friend. After Junya watched Hong's figure disappear, he looked back at the gate of the city lord's mansion, but did not go back. Suddenly, the life of pushing cups and changing cups that he liked before lost its appeal to him, and he felt that it seems like they are all wasting their feelings. He originally wanted to make some friends at the banquet, but he also left. Since he has doubts in his heart, he needs to verify them. At this time, he knows what kind of friends he wants. Hong left the city lord's palace and went directly to the city gate. Changfeng left the city and waited after Hong entered the city lord's palace. When he saw Hong, the two met. Hong took out a teleportation disc to input spiritual power, and the two of them disappeared. The transmission speed of the formation disk is very fast. In just a moment, the two of them appeared at the entrance from the northern continent to the southern continent. They did not hide their identities and returned directly to the southern continent. Then they used the transmission formation disk to leave. Those who want to follow them can't do it at all. If he uses the teleportation profound pattern, he can still find the direction by following the mysterious pattern's aura, but the teleportation array really leaves no trace behind. The most they can do is find out that he returned to the southern continent. As for where he went back to the southern continent, they cannot rely on tracking. That's why Xuanhuan didn't care about the people who were secretly following him and left directly under their noses. Xuanhuan went directly to the location of the G family. Even though he had checked out all the information about the existence of the G family and knew that this place had been deserted for too long, Xuanhuan was still surprised to see the desolation here with his own eyes. The ruins with no end at a glance are standing in front of you. They are clearly within reach, but they still feel very far away. Jin Yutang arrived early. As soon as the gate of Yaoguang city opened early in the morning, he left with his people. Therefore, he had been here all morning. He led people to check the surroundings. They could not get close to the G family's clan. There was a force that would appear as soon as you walked in. If you resisted, it would fight back twice as hard. They had been trying all morning, but they couldn't find any way to get in. At the entrance, I had no choice but to look around to see if anyone lived nearby and who was waiting for Xuanhuan to come. Master, we can't get close without finding the entrance. No one lives nearby, they are all 30 miles away, Jin Yutang said. Xuanhuan nodded, just find a place to wait, and I'll go in by myself. You don't have to show up if anyone comes to check, just let them check. He felt the bloodline call when he arrived here, and it was only then that he was truly sure that the bloodline on his body was the bloodline of the G family here. Yes, Jin Yutang responded. Xuanhuan could not sense the repulsive force that Jin Yutang and others sensed. On the contrary, there was another force that was getting stronger and clearer. Chang Feng held the long sword and retreated to Jin Yutang. They knew that since Xuanhuan wouldn't let them in, they knew they couldn't get in, and they were also sure that he could get in. They watched their master go in here, and then they found a place to hide and wait for his master to come out. Xuanhuan looked at the broken city wall in front of him, but thought about what kind of existence the G family was at that time. It actually owned such a large area of clan land. As far as he could see, there was a city wall inside, and there were buildings inside the city wall. But they are all like ruins, and the layout is more like an imperial city. Xuanhuan is very familiar with this pattern. Almost all the imperial cities in Tianqian continent have this pattern. However, there are no countries in the higher continents at all, only continents. In the historical records, he did not see any records of countries. And the G family is a forbidden existence in the higher continent. Xuanhuan doesn't think that the G family was exterminated just because of their Xuanhuan technique. All doubts, he knows, will be solved after he enters and accepts the inheritance of the G family. Xuanhuan took a deep breath and walked inside. Jin Yutang and Chang Feng watched him go in, as if the power that had hindered Jin Yutang and the others did not exist at all. Sure enough, the bloodline of the G family is not restricted. They watched Xuanhuan walk forward slowly. Xuanhuan walked not fast, as if every step was taken seriously. They didn't know why Xuanhuan walked so slowly, and their hearts were lifted. They didn't know what he was about to face. What? And there was nothing they could do to help. Until Xuanhuan walked through the ruins of the second city wall, they suddenly lost sight of him. Jin Yutang and Chang Feng both took a step forward. Thinking that there was nothing they could do, they looked at each other and left with their men. They found a secluded place nearby to hide and wait for Xuanhuan to come out. Xuanhuan felt something different as soon as he crossed the second city wall. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 620. Along the way, Xuanhuan became more certain that this place was indeed built according to the layout of the imperial city. The place he came from before was the outer city, and the place he was in now was the inner city, and the summoning power came from the central building. Although it looks deserted, the buildings inside are still intact. What surprised Xuanhuan was that from the outside, there were ruins inside, and there were no intact buildings at all. Only after entering the inner city can you see the buildings. That's the royal palace. Xuanhuan, who has lived in the palace since childhood, is very familiar with this pattern. He frowned. How could the G family's land look like an imperial city? Is there a palace inside? Looking at the area, this imperial city is 4 times the size of the Tianshan Empire. You must know that the Tianshan Empire is the largest empire in the Tianqian continent, and the imperial city is also the largest in the entire Tianqian continent. He looked back at the buildings in the outer city that had truly turned into ruins. Who lived in these buildings? There can't be so many people in the G family, right? There is no clan in the higher continent that can live in a whole city, and it is still such a big city, and other forces will not allow such a family to exist. Xuanhuan had more doubts in his heart. No matter how large a family was, it would never have so many members. It seemed that the G family at that time had many affiliated families or users. There must be other reasons for the demise of the G family. Xuanhuan walked into the deserted building without hesitation. At this time, Xianxia looked at the young man who was panting heavily, then looked at the steps below that were not far away, and then looked up again. The steps still could not be seen to the end. She was extremely sure that the young man in front of her did not have the strength to climb to the top of Miracle Doctor Mountain this time. The young man couldn't stand it anymore and sat down to rest on the steps. Xianxia sat down next to him. After hesitating for a moment, he asked, "What will you do if you can't go up?" Xianxia was worried that he would be hit too hard and lose confidence in alchemy. After listening to her words, the young man's expression did not change. "With my talent, it is normal that I can't go up. When the time comes, I will sit and meditate at the highest height I can reach. After a week, if there is no gain, I will not be able to go up. If I go up, I will go down. If I come back next time, I will have 9 more chances." The boy's optimism infected Xianxia. The boy in front of her was the first person she had ever encountered who was so optimistic about cultivation. Although the young man's talent is indeed not very good, he has a good mentality. As long as his mentality is good and his mood is good, she believes that this young man's talent will definitely be improved here. Even if you don't get the enlightenment from Master Shi, your state of mind will improve. When your state of mind improves, your talent will naturally improve. If he could really insist on doing it 10 times, Xianxia couldn't predict how much his talent would improve. Confidence and diligence are indispensable for a cultivator on the road to success. It was as if something suddenly opened in Xianxia's mind. At this moment, she suddenly understood the reason why Divine Doctor Mountain is still a place that alchemists yearn for. Many times it is not Master Shi who enlightens you, but you will encounter things that make you break through your state of mind along the way. Even for the boy in front of you, such an ordinary person, his words and actions will make you enlightened. The young man, who had rested for a while and was breathing more calmly, said to Xianxia, "Young master is so talented. You don't need to accompany me. Just go up quickly. I can just walk slowly by myself." Xianxia was not polite either. He didn't even know his name, so he was actually a stranger. Along with him on this journey, Xianxia also wanted to learn from him what kind of existence the Divine Doctor Mountain was in the eyes of the world. She indeed would not accompany him to walk so slowly. Xianxia stood up and said, "Let's say goodbye. I wish you can reach the top soon." The young man smiled happily and said, Thank you for your good wishes. If he can reach the top one day, his alchemy talent will definitely increase several times, and it is indeed a blessing from this young master. Yan Xianglou didn't stop and walked up. Her steps were brisk and she had already gone a long way in just a moment. The young man watched his back getting further and further away, feeling envious in his heart. This young man's alchemy talent was definitely not that high. It was inevitable that he would reach the top in such a relaxed state. Before, Yan Xianglou said that he simply came to pay homage to Master Shi. He also felt that he did not understand the magic of Divine Doctor Mountain. Now it seems that his vision is too small and his knowledge is short. It wasn't until Yan Xianglou's back could no longer be seen that he turned to look down the mountain. Although his talent was not very good, he had climbed so far. If he persisted, he could continue to climb, even though he could not be the best. As an alchemist, it is still possible to make further progress based on his current level, so he is already very satisfied. He is not greedy and is always content with what he has. After resting for a while, he stood up and continued walking up. Every step was still strenuous, but his eyes were unwavering. Yan Xianglou walked all the way up, feeling no resistance from the beginning to the end. She understood that she was already able to refine God-level elixirs, and this step had no training effect for her, so naturally she would not feel any resistance. Yan Xianglou thought she could only meet the young man. Unexpectedly, when she went up, she would see people sitting on the steps resting from time to time. Although there were not many, it still surprised her. She was curious about how the steps were used to identify the alchemy talent of the climber. She could tell what level of alchemist the other person was from the aura on his body. Alchemists all smell of herbs and elixirs. As a god-level alchemist, she only needs to smell the smell of elixirs on the other person's body to tell the level. It is true that the higher you go up, the higher the level of alchemy you encounter. The people she met on the road looked at her in disbelief when they saw her climbing the mountain so easily. How strong is her talent for alchemy in such a relaxed state? The purpose of Yan Xianglou's visit was very simple, just to pay homage to Master Shi, so she climbed to the top of the mountain without stopping. Occasionally someone would talk to her, but she would simply reply without stopping. She did not use her spiritual power during the whole process and walked up step by step, which took about less than half an hour. Calculated in this way, Divine Doctor Mountain is actually not very high. When you reach the top of the mountain, you will find a spacious venue. The first thing you see is the tall white statue standing in the middle of the venue in front of you. The statue is all white, and looks like it was carved from white jade. It is spotless, and there is not even a trace of impurities in the entire jade. If it weren't all white, it would feel like a real person standing there, lifelike. Yan Xianglou has always been looking forward to seeing the true face of Master Shi, and now she finally sees it.